Even if she didn't quite make it on the first time, she probably should have on the second time and wasn't allowed. And the third time, they just didn't have a choice because she was like top of her class, and she even beat out some French students.
Yeah.
So in
girl power.
Exactly. In 1902, she's 30, was granted a certificate. She actually stayed in Paris briefly to complete her first commission as an architect. She returned to the U.S. later that year, worked briefly in New York, but did not stay in the city long before taking the train back to Oakland. She could have worked in the University of California at Berkeley's New School of Architecture, but instead opened her own office in 1904 after passing the state's architecture exam. Again, as Caroline mentioned, she was the first woman to be licensed in the state of California as an architect. Her San Francisco practice, along with most of the city, was destroyed in the Great Earthquake of 1906. A fun fact that I really enjoy learning this one. So one of her post-earthquake commissions was the Fairmont Hotel.
Oh, and it's still there, right?
It is still there.
Okay, cool.
Whose redesign was originally intended to be, wait for it, Stanford White.
Oh,
Stanford White was supposed to design the Fairmont Hotel.
And he died.
Guess who got shot?
Yes.
In 1906.
That's right.
Stanford White. So Julia Morgan oversaw the completion of the Fairmont Hotel redesign.
Connections.
Yep.
We love connections.
We totally love connections. The valuable library that Julia had amassed in Europe was actually housed at her home in Oakland, and so it was spared the destruction of the earthquake, which was really good because she had quite a library. By the following year, she had established her own office downtown San Francisco in a 1903 building designed by Daniel Burnham of Chicago fame.
My fave.
Which was so well engineered that it withstood the quake, and it still stands today.
Yep, that's Daniel Burnham for you.
Mm-hmm. In Julia's 40 years of practice, she only carried another junior partner for 6 years. Otherwise, it was her name and only her name on the door.
That's right.
Sorry.
We're comments from the Peanut Gallery over here. Yeah, we just barely missed, Women's History Month. We should have bumped this one up, but...
Oh, right.
Such is
March.
life.
That's okay.
Every month is Women's History Month.
So over those 40 years... Julia may have had only a fraction of her creations built, but those that were constructed were extremely diverse in use, from entertainment to ecclesiastical and everything in between. But it was definitely the magnificent Hearst Castle that took the majority of her time and is the most famous and recognizable in her body of work. There were overlapping projects, events, and circumstances that brought Julia and the Hearst family, specifically Phoebe Hearst, in contact. So Phoebe Hearst, as Caroline mentioned, was William Randolph's mom, and she, like Julia, was a total badass. The woman may have met at Berkeley when Julia was an undergrad, but they for sure would have crossed paths in Paris, which served as the headquarters for the competition to create a new campus for UC Berkeley. Which the landscape was an Olmsted design, but they were still looking for architects to design all the new campus structures.
The campus of Berkeley was designed by Olmsted? Wow. Did not know that.
Julia was working on drawings for one of the buildings on campus, which Phoebe Hearst had commissioned. Phoebe also generously offered to supplement Julia's stipend at the École, which Julia refused. So all the students of the École des Beaux-Arts got $50 a month, and being the only woman, obviously, Julia is attracting attention, and being a fellow badass and someone who has the ability to support and dole out money to fellow women naturally offers. And Julia is like, thanks, I'm good. So anyway, the two ladies worked together on a really sweet hacienda in Northern California, and that was the beginning of the Hearst-Morgan relationship. Phoebe's husband and William Randolph's dad, Senator George Hearst, recognized how awesome his wife was and left everything to her, but not to their only son, William Randolph, who he considered to be a hopeless spendthrift.
And, well, you know.
Which he kind of was. So,
yeah, that's right.
So Big Mama, Phoebe, died in 1919 at age 77. But Phoebe does not die before giving William Randolph a bunch of money that he builds his fortune with, and also money that he can pay his architect with, although that turns out to be a bit more of a challenge. William Randolph first approached Julia to build his California hilltop estate at San Simeon, which he sometimes referred to as the Enchanted Hill, in 1919. On a geographical note, San Simeon is about halfway between LA and San Francisco and the hills above the Pacific. And I've been to San Simeon, but not Hearst Castle because it was closed when we got there. But it is like a fairy tale. It's the most beautiful country I've ever seen.
Why was it closed?
We just got there at like 4:30. The last tour had already left, and there's a gondola or something that takes you up.
Seriously?
And we just couldn't. Well, yeah, because it's like at the top of the hill, you don't drive. I mean, I don't know what it's like now. This was in 1996, maybe. It was a long time ago. But man, it was a pretty place.
That would be like pretty crushing.
Yeah, I think at the time I was disappointed, but not, as a teenager, I liked that kind of stuff, but I wasn't heartbroken because I didn't know a ton about it. And now, if that same thing had happened now, I would find a place to stay the night in, close by so that I could get up the next morning and do it. But we had to keep going.
And you would also be probably texting me bad words.
I probably would. Yes. Lots of gifts.
Yes.
Angry gifts.
Yes.
Hearst still lived in New York. So, amazingly, a house of this magnitude was designed by written correspondence.
Whoa.
And, right, so Hearst Castle is giant. It's this main building. There's 3 guest cottages. There's a zoo. It's fully landscaped. It's just everything about it is massive. And lots of coordination, lots of antique ordering, lots of antique storing, and just a lot to have to deal with over, telegram in letters. So William Randolph and Julia collaborated well and both loved the San Simeon project. I don't know how much she loved it when it continued on and consumed her life for 20 years.
Yeah.
But she was certainly incredibly proud of the outcome, and so was William Randolph.
Do you know an approximate number of her commissions that actually got built?
I know that she designed more than 700 buildings, but I don't know how many.
Wow.
It says over the course of her 47-year career, Morgan designed upwards of 700 buildings. It just says of which all but a small minority were built.
Yeah.
She had a knack for swimming pools. But, and this is a super cool book. It's just called Julia Morgan Architect, and
who's it by?
Everything you would ever want to know. It's by Sarah Holmes Boutel.
Okay. Head to your local library and pick it up.
Yeah, for sure.
Your local Amazon.
Or buy it and put it on your coffee table, because
Right.
it is not a small book.
We're going to close things out today with that, and join us next week for a personal tour through San Simeon, courtesy of Adrienne.
Yep.
And then I will launch
Caroline's flying me out there.
I am, yeah.
And
I'm just charging it to the podcast credit card.
We are, yep.
That doesn't exist
We're
right now.
We're going to expense it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wonder if I can write all this stuff off on my taxes. So, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about WR's later life and some of the potentially scandalous things he got up to. Until then, check us out online at scandalsheetspod.com. Please feel free to reach out to us. We always enjoy hearing about how wonderful we are, and we also it took you a minute, right?
It did. It was like skipped a beat. Oh, we do. You like us. You really do.
Exactly. We want to hear good things, but we're also open to constructive criticism as well. And suggestions.
As long as you give us 5 stars, we're okay with constructive criticism.
Yes, I think that's a fairly good bargain right there.
I think so.
Of course, if you have a scandal or scandalous person or something of that nature that you would like covered, we are always open to suggestions.
Yep.
Adrienne is currently on the hunt for a theater, so if you know of one, please let us know. Oh, the big news I'm totally forgetting, the important big news, is that we are now available on iHeartRadio. So
that's big news.
I feel like it is.
You guys, you don't just go on iHeartRadio. Like, you have to apply. Caroline applied. I didn't know any of this.
Yes, I applied and we got accepted. So we are now on iHeartRadio in addition to Apple Podcast, Stitcher, and the TuneIn app. Basically, we should be available everywhere, and hopefully Spotify soon as well. I have also applied to that.
Oh, you have to... apply to Spotify?
You do.
Wow.
So hopefully we will be coming there as well.
We might be everywhere. Hey, we were also mentioned.
Oh, yes. I'd like to give a shout out to the lovely folks at Podcast Movement. They do a wonderful Facebook group for podcasters, and they also put on probably one of the premier podcasting conferences. It's coming up in Philadelphia this year, and I desperately want to go.
In Philly.
I've got to figure out where.
The last weekend in July.
Yeah, maybe I need to sell a kidney so I can get up there, because I actually saw the lineup for the presenters, and it's pretty amazing.
That's really cool.
But anyway, they named us amongst some of their new podcast members for the month of April. So we really appreciate the shout out from them.
Yep. Thank you.
Go and give them some love on Instagram and Facebook and all those fun things. Give us some love on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Scandal Sheets Pod. And come back next week, please.
Yep. Got to hear about the pools.
Yes, because pools are awesome. It'll be even awesomer.
Julie Morgan's pools are even awesome.
Yes, I've seen photos now, courtesy of this lovely coffee table book that we have, and it is pretty spectacular.
Yep.
I might even forget the fact that I need to lose 35 pounds before putting on my bathing suit just to swim in that pool. So, yeah. So, catch us next week.
Hope it stops raining.
I know. We're going to get,
deluge.
Seriously, it's like a freaking tropical storm out there.
It is. We needed the rain, but we didn't need
that kind of rain.
16 hours of it.
Hopefully, I'm going to be able to get home, because if any of you Charleston listeners know, we are notorious for flooding.
Yep.
I probably should have checked high tide to see when it was coming in.
Yep.
So
Caroline's going to float home now.
Yes, I'm going to maybe swimming home. So hopefully you will hear from us next week. And until then, ta-ta for now.
Bye.